Muy buenos dias. Good morning. I hope you are well, staying positive and focused on what you can control. My name is Patricia Mota, and I am currently serving as President and CEO of HACE, the Hispanic Alliance for Career Enhancement. We are a national nonprofit organization whose mission since 1982 is to positively impact workplaces by cultivating the pipeline of Latino talent, providing Latinx the insight, access, and development to be successful in their careers. We are excited as it's celebrating 40th anniversary. If you haven't seen yet, we are hosting our National Leadership Summit. It will be a hybrid opportunity, so join us in person, join us virtually for workshop, panel discussions, amazing networking opportunities to connect with folks from across the country, gain some insights in terms of your career. And this year, our theme is to hacer más, which means to do more for your career, to do more for talent, for our community, and to do more, especially to lead. And so we'll be sharing nuggets and insights throughout the summit. And then our 40th anniversary fundraiser, Sembrando el Futuro, on the evening of April 22nd. We hope you can join us. It'll be a good time. I know my good friend joining me here this morning will be there, right, Efry?
That is definitely my plan.
Buenos dias. Thank you for joining us. We have with us our special guest with Efrain or Efry Ayala-Johnson, who is the Director of Inclusive Talent Strategy at United Airlines. ¿Cómo estás, Efry?
Pero más bien, I'm very good. Thank you. Good morning to you. And buenos dias to everyone who's watching us online.
Karina, Vanessa, buenos dias. Good morning, everyone. We are excited to have this conversation. So not only will we be talking about our partnership with United, but specific and a special initiative for Latinas in the tech industry. So Efry, ¿cómo te gusta tu cafecito or whatever? What's your morning beverage of choice?
My morning beverage of choice is coffee. I am a devout coffee drinker. I'm the kind of person who will drink coffee at 10 o'clock at night while watching TV and then gladly go to bed 2 hours later or whatever. I have no problem with that. I think it's funny. I married into an American family. They are white. They're not Latinos. And, living in Puerto Rico, I've been drinking coffee since I was like, I don't know, third grade or something. You just have a cup of coffee with your breakfast, right? So my in-laws are horrified that I offer my kids coffee. For the record, neither one of them
Some of the
drink
folks may be horrified here too.
I know. They're like, oh my God. But my daughter, who's now in 8th grade and is not a morning person, she's starting to drink coffee, but she's 13, so she drinks iced coffee with a lot of cream.
Oh.
I call it coffee scented milk, but no, definitely I'm a café con leche drinker, so it's usually relatively light and sweet.
Wonderful. So you all heard the cafecito that Efry prefers con leche. I know we have a lot of café con leche folks tuning in. We want to hear from you. We want to please engage in the chat. This is your opportunity to network with folks that are here with us, but also get any questions that you have of Efry ready, because we'll have some time to engage with those questions towards the end of our very short time that we have today. Efry, you talked about your background being from Puerto Rico. You talked about your children. Give us a little more insight in terms of who you are and how did you get to your current role in such a critical role, especially these days more than ever, and leading inclusive diversity, equity initiatives for United Airlines.
Sure, not a problem. So like I mentioned before, I was born in Puerto Rico. I'm originally from a part of Puerto Rico called Humacao, which is a town in the southeast corner of Puerto Rico. I'm sure many of you heard of Hurricane Maria, which made landfall in Yabucoa. Humacao is right next to Yabucoa.
Mm.
My family are dairy farmers. So I grew up on a dairy farm, and that doesn't sound weird to say in the Midwest. But when you're in the Midwest and you tell people you're from a dairy farm in Puerto Rico, people are like, "You have cows in Puerto Rico?" Yes, yes, we do. They're cold weather animals, so they're not exactly very happy. But so I grew up in a very rural environment. My family, dairy farming is kind of like my family's work, but education is very highly valued in my family as well. So both my mother and father are pharmacists. Um, I eventually ended up living in San Juan for a little bit. Went to school, high school in Puerto Rico, started college in Puerto Rico, and then transferred to Miami, Florida, where that's where I started working in diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Mm.
I didn't call it that back then, but I
Yeah.
was an RA, a resident assistant
Oh.
in college. For those of you who don't know what that is, they're the student leaders who are responsible for like a floor in the dorm, and they serve as student leaders and mentors to other students, often freshmen and sophomores living on campus. And it turned out that I had a knack for mentoring, coaching, teaching, and my personal favorite subjects were the ones that had to do with diversity and inclusion. That's what we
Mm.
called it back then. I felt very unexposed to a lot of those
Mm.
topics. And I really just had a crazy amount of interest in learning more.
Mm-hmm.
Part of that is because of my love of languages. I speak Spanish. I lived in Puerto Rico for 20 years. I also speak
Mm-hmm.
English. You can hear me doing that. But I speak French as well. I'm conversationally fluent in French, which you may notice my extra pronoun there, il,
Yep.
lui, is him in French. But that turned into a desire to understand global cultures. So when I moved to Chicago, I did a master's degree in multicultural communications from DePaul University. And after that, I came to United in a
Mm.
training capacity. The last thing I'll say about that in regards to like this kind of like career, it's very twisty and turny. There's a whole lot of turns I didn't go into. But my role today at United Airlines, as far as inclusive talent strategies, is a lot more external than internal. I have peers of mine that do internal
Mm-hmm.
development and DEI programs. My role is really more into talent attraction and talent acquisition, helping our key talent pipelines, things like pilots, mechanics, MBA students, things like that, to become attracted and hopefully choose United as a place where they can not just get a job, but really build a career.
So it looks like you're the guy to talk to if anybody's in career looking for their next career opportunity, Efrain.
Yes, chances are is that I may not be able to give it to you, but I'll tell you exactly where to go.
So leverage.
Yeah.
I think we're having some connection. Maybe that's me right here.
It's
Definitely. Can you?
2022.
And
Connection
the other
issues
thing.
are the flavor of the month.
Exactly, exactly. So we heard a little bit about you moving, you moved from your hometown to Miami, and then now you're in Chicago. So in terms of as you advancing in your career, and also we have to talk about this at some other time. I can attest to some of those resident assistant stories because I also did that as an undergrad, and how much you grow as a leader in that type of experience when you're working with students that are home, that's their home away from home. And such a unique experience when you think about it, when you're looking to build an inclusive community, right? Because that's part of the job that you do as a resident assistant. So those of you tuning in, think about, how some of the things that you've done in your career and your career trajectory have translated to where you are today. But most importantly, to do más for your career, where you want to go in the next year, in the next 5 years, in the next 10 years. So, Efry, we are always grateful to hear stories because folks here can relate. And so please get your questions ready. We're extremely grateful as well that United has partnered to launch this Mujeres de HACE Tech cohort. So we have some of the women from United participating. United also providing some scholarships for women to participate. So we're super grateful for that. And Efry, can you tell us a little bit more about United's role with this particular cohort?
Sure. First of all, I am very excited about re-energizing our partnership with ASE. I talked earlier about key talent
Mm-hmm.
pipelines, and I generally look at that as far as job functions, like I mentioned, pilots, mechanics, etc. But key talent pipelines is also about looking at underrepresented groups. Here at United, we're very focused in representing with our employees and our staff the communities that we work in, live in, and fly to. So
Mm-hmm.
we want to look at underrepresented groups and make sure that we are increasing that representation. So that key talent pipeline is also, for example, looking at Latino leaders.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because underrepresented is not something that you can just look at the company and say, okay, well, women are underrepresented or Latinos are underrepresented. If you actually look at our frontline employees, there is
Mm-hmm.
actually a pretty sizable representation of Latino employees. But if you look at upper management, for example, there isn't. It's the same thing with technology. When you look at technology, there are a lot of underrepresented groups in the technology arena that are actually very well represented. Latinos and Latinas in particular. So males and females, even females even more so, that identify as Latinos are a continuously underrepresented group in the areas of technology and innovation. So that is why I personally am excited about the Mujeres de HACE Tech cohort. And not just the Mujeres de HACE Tech cohort, but really the relationship with ACE period, in
Mm-hmm.
order for us to target or increased Latino representation in departments, functions, and key talent pipelines in which they are underrepresented.
Excellent points, Efry, and such a critical thing to note when we're talking about
Yeah.
underrepresentation. That we're saying underrepresentation in, let's say, senior leader roles there, or and ensuring, because we do hear, right? Sometimes we're talking to employers and they say, well, we're well represented. And no, for us, the accountability piece with our partners is ensuring that we know, no, we're talking about senior level roles. And the other thing to add to that is when we're
Mhm.
talking about diversity, sometimes we're all looped into one bucket and saying, yeah, we have diversity in terms of percentage of women and people of color. And then for us as an organization, it was like, well, what percentage of those are Latino, right? What percentage of those
Yeah,
are women of color? And
absolutely.
so, exactly, and so ensuring
And
that we're
again,
breaking down.
looking at it from a functional perspective, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
there are organizations that might have very good Latino representation in operational roles. Well, what about business roles, marketing, loyalty, finance? That's what will help us to create that diversity of thought, diversity of innovation that then yields to better products, better services, more
Mm-hmm.
customer loyalty, etc.
Yeah, no, wonderful, great points. And so, for any of you interested or that know someone working specifically in the tech field that can benefit from this cohort, this is our traditional program customized for Latinas in tech, meaning that our executives, our guest speakers will be leaders in the industry, meaning that the content will be relevant. And this is part of the equity building piece, is ensuring that we're leveraging our cohort model training programs to bring certain communities together, affinities together, so that this becomes your support network, the folks that could understand your industry, the unique challenges that are unique to your roles, and so please leverage this as an opportunity. We know United also provided some scholarships, so those are also available if you need some sponsorship support to be able to participate in this cohort as well. And the program includes coaching, the training, and just an amazing network that ASTA continues to engage with you throughout your career trajectory. And so we're super excited that United is helping us in this endeavor, and looking forward to what not only the experience that the women would get out of it, but the long lasting impact that we've seen with our other graduates along the way. So now is your time. If you have any questions, we'll take your questions, any comments that you have of Efry, whether it's about this program, whether it's about Efry's background, or anything United related, right? Efry, you're going to take
Yeah.
the question. The
I'm an open
questions.
book, so feel about me and my experience and my passion around DEI, or the work that we're doing or what you'd like to see us do, let me know.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, Anna, I think we have some comments from Anna. Thank you for that. She said, I think where many organizations fall is creating the safe space for education and learning. Um, any comments on her comment?
Yeah, I don't disagree. I
Mhm,
think that creating a safe space for education in regards to diversity and inclusion, and actually, I think equity is even harder to talk
mhm,
about, which is a separate conversation, because they're sensitive subjects.
yeah.
And when United made a very public commitment of 50% of our students at United Aviate Academy being people of color or women, that is often misinterpreted. All of a sudden, it became, oh, well, that means that United is hiring 50% women pilots. And it turns into all these other conversations that, of course, we continuously clarify. No, please don't misunderstand. Our,
Mhm,
our, we are looking to hire the best possible pilots. When it comes to the education of pilots, at our Aviate Academy, we are focused on clearing the path and ensuring that there are equitable practices that will result then in at least 50% of those students being people of color and women, which for the record, we've well exceeded. We're well over 70% in the 3 or 4 classes that we've had so far. But we can't be afraid of people asking those difficult questions or making those difficult comments. Instead, what helps to create the safe space is that we can enter into that dialogue, that we can say, okay, well, tell me more about what you're hearing. Tell me more about what this is saying to you. And we have to be open-minded, right? Nobody knows everything.
yeah.
I would like to think that as a diversity professional, I am immune to microaggressions or immune to assumptions, but I'm still human. So I unfortunately commit both of those, hopefully not on a regular basis, but when I do, what I am well equipped to do as a DEI professional is to catch myself readily and to improve the situation rapidly. And that's what creates that safe space for other people to catch themselves and to correct themselves and to improve the situation. So thank you, Anna, for the question. I'm sorry, for the comment that I turned into a question and added more comments to.
We sure did, didn't we, Efry? I think, there's just great points. I think it's not an easy feat, right? And the great point that I really want to emphasize is even if we are DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion practitioners, doesn't mean that we got it 100% right, right? And it's
No, we're
about,
still human.
we're still human. We're still, having that self-awareness and learning and growing. It's about creating that spaces for being open, for those conversations, those tough conversations. So Katia is asking, what is your favorite initiative you worked on? Any least favorites? Thank you.
Um, I have a lot of different initiatives that I am both very happy to have worked on and a few that I was like, oh, glad that's done. Let me see if I can come up with something relatively quickly. I would say that very recently in my previous role, so I've been working in DEI specifically here at United in this role for about 8 months.
Mhm.
Prior to that, most of my career at United Airlines has been in learning and development. And one of the initiatives, I don't know if it was necessarily my favorite, but it is one of the ones that I'm very proud to have worked on,
Mhm.
is that we developed a operational leadership development plan that we were beginning to deploy. We were like minutes from deployment in February and March of 2020. I think you can hear the punchline on that one. Um, but what I'm really proud of, which is why I'll include it in the top 5 favorites, is that the program was very comprehensive. It was a lot of operational leadership, talking to the leaders as
Mhm.
human, What can you do to lead with empathy? How do you connect with your people? How do you use a vision? So we did talk about, harder topics like a vision, mission, strategy. How do you develop tactics? But then how do you coach and develop to that? How do you use that as a tool of engagement, as a tool of caring, as opposed to just an operational tool to get the performance done? And what I am also proud of is that we didn't stop that work because of the pandemic. We actually edited the content. We edited dramatically how we deployed the content. And I'm really proud that we at United Airlines took it as an opportunity to say, hey, we have very few flights in this market or that market, which is terrible for us. But when else do we have the opportunity to take leaders off the front line out of the airport, not literally out of the airport, but out of the, the gates and the terminal in order to sit down and take the time to develop?
That's a great example in the sense that you leveraged a challenging time and made an amazing opportunity out of it. And you should be proud to be able to do that. We've got to wrap up, Efry.
Okay.
Something you most look forward to.
What I look most forward to is actually the technology advances and what we're looking forward to. Some of you may have seen that United has been very public about United Next, our green efforts for sustainable aviation fuels, our commitment to different kinds of airplanes like supersonic and electric and stuff like that. I'm personally not a technology freak, but I am very much an aviation and a travel and just humans moving forward and learning new things. So that's one of the things that I'm looking forward to the most. And we're going to need a lot of diverse thinking, diverse people, diverse ideas to make sure that these new initiatives work.
Wonderful. Thank you, Efry, for your time. Please continue to engage in the comments. We'll make sure, these videos are saved on the pages. Thank you for joining us. We're super appreciative and, again, excited for Mujeres de HACE Tech cohort. Please go to the HACE website to learn more. And hasta la próxima. Until next time, everyone. Take care.
Nos vemos. Cuídense. Bye.
Cuídense. Bye-bye.